Kale here from Stomvi USA. As you can imagine, I get questions all the time about mouthpieces and my Flex mouthpieces in particular. And of course, one of the biggest questions is, well, what's the difference between the different series? But most people refer to those as backbores. Well, one of the things I'm going to tell you is the reason I don't just call it a backbore but call it a series is because my studies and my experience in mouthpieces has shown that often when you change the backbore to a given mouthpiece, you need to change other aspects to make it play and sound correctly. You might have to adjust the bore size, you might have to adjust the approach to the throat, you might want to change the overall length of the mouthpiece. And so rather than just call it a backbore that could be put on any mouthpiece, I call it a series because I do make changes from piece to piece depending on the cup volume, the diameter of the cup, etc. So that's why I call them series. And the next question I always get is, well, what's the difference between, what's the difference in sound and playability, let's say, between a speed of sound and the J6 series? Well, the sound side's pretty easy to talk about. I can tell you that the speed of sound is generally skewed towards the high frequencies. It has more high frequencies, less mid and low frequencies. The J6 has virtually the same amount of high frequencies as the speed of sound. That's why it has clarity. But it's like you're turning up the bass in the mid-range. You get a thicker core to the sound with the J6. The number 5 is more of an orchestral type of sound, kind of transparent in the middle, sort of like a Bach mouthpiece sound, but in general these are a little bit better in tune, project more resonant. So it's got a lot of sound around the edges and not as much core in the center. Helps prevent the conductor from doing this so much. The double C backbore is, or series I should say, see I caught myself, series is a commercial piece. It's got a very sweet sounding commercial sound. It's got a lot of warmth in the mids and lows, but still has the high frequencies for the clarity. The M4G, I believe, compresses the scale the most, so the registers get the closest together on the M4G. And then we're into the feel side of things. And this is where it gets almost impossible to talk about, because what feels open to one player feels stuffy to the other player. This is based on perceptions, on our instrument, on what gap we end up with, etc. In general, I'll say about the Flex mouthpieces is that if you can play one series, so for example, let's say you get a Flex mouthpiece in the speed of sound series, odds are pretty high you're going to be comfortable on the J6 and the 5 as well. They won't feel identical, of course, but they'll have different sounds and you can probably function on them quite well.